Hello guys, this is Mahmoud Shoaib, and in today's lesson we'll be learning how we can create methods. This is going to be a part 1. So in the second part we'll be seeing how we can create methods and add more functionality. So with that enough said, let's go ahead and create a new project. I'll call that Working with Methods Part 1. And click OK. Alrighty, now that we've created the program, let's begin. So a method is a name you give a series and sequence of statements you have in your program. So let's go ahead and create these statements. So let's say we name let's do a console. There's some strange behavior by my compiler. Apologize for that. So let's say we have a statement called welcome, and we have another one that says it said please enter your password. Now this is a prompt because it wants you to enter a value. So I'm gonna say int. This time let's use a string. Equals console dot readline. All right. So this next line statement, this statement is going to get the password you're entering from your keyboard, and then finally it's going to display the content. So I'm going to say console dot writeline only format specifier. Sorry. And say you entered. I'm going to say comma password. This is a very bad program because you're displaying your password. So I wouldn't like to do that. Let me just say name. Yeah, just please enter your name. Yeah, and then let's call this name. So I'm going to input your name right here. It says your name. So let's go ahead and save that. Save the program. And let's press Ctrl F5 to start without debugging. So it says welcome. Please enter your name. I'm going to say Mahmoud. And enter, say you entered Mahmoud. Press any key to continue. So what if I have to do this 100 times? What if I need to create the same sequence? So if I want to do that again, I'll just copy, go down somewhere, and then paste that code. Go down somewhere, and then paste that code. And this will be really, really boring. So we need to create a method. A method can accept your statements and put them together in one logical place. It can group them. So let's look at the excuse me, let's look at the syntax for creating a method. So I'm gonna create a multi-line comment, which is slash, at least 2 asterisks, and then a slash. So in between, this is where I'm gonna write the syntax. So first we specify a return type. A return type is like an integer, a byte, a character, a boolean. You actually have to specify a return type. Then the name of the method. Now once you specify the name, you create 2 brackets and then a curly brace, a beginning and a closing curly brace. So depending on which kind of style you want, it could be like this, or you could decide to leave the curly brace right in front of the function itself, which is fine. So that's the syntax. So I'm just call this syntax. For creating methods. Alright, that's syntax. That's how you can create a method. So remember, the return type is the name of the type you want to specify the kind of information to. This can be like a string or whatever. That's what you can use for the return type. Now the name is simply the name you use to call the method. That's straight up. And then the body of the statement, this is where you write your code. So I'm just going to insert statements here. So with that said, let's go ahead and create a function that will hold all our statements together. Alright, so I'm gonna, if a function is not returning any kind of value, you have to specify the word void. Alright, so let's just put it up here. So use void if your function is not returning a value. So what do I mean by it's not returning a value? Let's say you're at home with your friend, and you want your friend to pass you the remote control. So you tell him, hey dude, could you please pass me that remote control? So your friend returns back to you, but he gives you the remote control. So sometimes you might sum 2 numbers, or you might add or do a calculation in a program, and then you want your program to give you a result. You want it to store that result, so you have to specify the type of the result. So let's say you have a small function called int store results. Right, it's going to be something like this. This is how the function is going to look like, but because we don't have a parameter, we can add arguments, but that's going to be in our next next lesson. So let's go ahead and close that. So let's quickly create the function to store these piece of statements. So it's not returning anything, so I'm going to say void. Right, let's say name holder. Let's say input name function, because that's what it does. It inputs your name. And already we're in the main method. We can't create a method within a method, so we're going to go out. So let's cut that out. So just right after the static method ends is for the class. So we're going to paste that. Right, so we paste that within the class but outside the main method. And then we're going to copy this piece of code. I'm going to cut everything. And I'm going to go here and say void input name and just zoom this in a little bit. And then paste that value. So now that you've created a function, to call the function in your main method, you specify the function name. The name of the function is input name with the curly brace, and you end it with a statement ender. You end it with a column. So right now I'm in the main method. I'm going to say calling my method, and it's called input name. So I'm going to say input Good. So we get this quickly line because it says, hey, you need to create an object reference. Wait a minute, I think we can that in here. So you need to create an object of this function to make it work. So that's a bit, we haven't learned how to create objects yet. So let's go ahead over here and create a, use the word static. When you create a static function, you don't need to create an instance of that function to run. In our next lessons, in our prior lessons, we're going to talk about what objects are and what static means. But for now, just take it as it is, because we have a main method here called a static void main method, where we didn't have to create an instance of that method to make it run. So the same thing we're going to do right here is to create this static void input name function, and then to call that function in the main method, we're going to say input name. So let's go ahead and save it, and then build and run the application. It says, welcome, please enter your name. If we get rid of that, if I comment this out, we definitely won't get anything. All right. So this will be it for this lesson. I don't want to make it too complicated. Remember that a function or a method actually is a reference to your statements. So you can have your piece of statements in a function. It's a nice way to organize your function. If I wanted to do this a lot of times, I'll just paste that. Paste that multiple times. So that's what this means. So it's just a way of calling a function, a method. To call a method, you specify the method name, you put two curly braces, an opening and closing curly brace, and then a statement ending. You end it with a colon. Alright guys, so I hope this helps you understand what methods are, what they do, how you can create them, and how you can call them in your main entry point. Go ahead and look at the Solution Explorer. And then you'll notice in the Solution Explorer we have two methods. We have the main method. If you double click a method name, it actually takes you directly to it. So we have a main method and we have an input name method. Both of these methods don't return any value. So you see they have the keyword called void. And remember, you don't need to create an instance of the method of function when you call it. So I've been using methods and function interchangeably because I used C++ and C#. So in other programming applications, a method is called a function. They both mean the same thing. When you go online, there might be a war between functions and methods. But for this lesson, let's take it as it is. So when we use functions or methods, we basically mean the same thing. Alright guys, thanks for watching. In case you're interested, you can subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. We'll be looking at working with methods part 2. So thank you very much.